Meg Cabot, When Lightning Strikes, Chapter 9. What happened was, the next day, Ruth drove me to school as usual. All during the drive, I couldn't get those kids out of my head. The kids on the side of the milk carton I'd bought the night before, I mean. Once again, I'd wakened with this feeling that I knew exactly where they were, down to the street address. It was getting creepy, let me tell you. But just like Friday and Saturday, I couldn't stop thinking about them. So, as soon as we got to school, I managed to ditch Ruth and gave old 1-800-WHERE-ARE-YOU a call. This time, Rosemary answered. "Hi, Rosemary," I said. "It's me, Jess, from Friday, remember?" Rosemary sucked in her breath. "Jess?" she said. Actually, she practically screamed it in my ear. "Honey, where are you?" I thought it was kind of funny that someone who worked for 1-800-WHERE-ARE-YOU would be asking where I was. I went, "Well, right now I'm at school." "People are looking for you, hon," Rosemary said. "Did you call here on Saturday?" "Yes," I said. "Why?" "Hold on," Rosemary said. "I have to get my supervisor. I promise I would if you called back. I promise I would if you called back." The late bell rang. I went, "Wait, Rosemary, I didn't have time. I just have to tell you about Jeannie Lee Peters and Samantha Travers." "Jess," Rosemary said. "Honey, I don't think you understand. Haven't you looked at the newspaper? They found them. They found Sean and Olivia exactly where you said they'd be. And the children you called about on Saturday, they found them too. People here want to talk to you, honey. They want to know how you knew." So it had been Sean. It had been Sean after all. Why had he told me his name was Sam? Why had he looked so scared when it was clear I was there trying to help him? I said in reply to Rosemary's question, "I don't know how I knew. Look, Rosemary, I'm going to be late. Just let me tell you. Here's my supervisor, Larry Barnes." Rosemary said, "Larry, it's her. It's Jess." A man's voice came on over the phone. He said, "Jess, is this Jess?" "Look," I said. I was getting kind of scared. I mean, I just wanted to help out some missing kids. I didn't have to talk to Larry, the supervisor. "Jeannie Lee Peters is in Escondido, Florida." I rattled off the address really fast. "And Samantha Travers, it's kind of weird about her, but you have to go down rural Route 4 just outside of Wilmington, Alabama. You'll find her by this tree, this big tree with the big rock next to it." "Jess," Larry said. "It's Jessica, isn't it? May I have your last name, Jess, and where you're calling from?" I saw Mrs. Pitt, the home ec teacher, waddling towards me. Mrs. Pitt totally hates me because of the time I poured a souffle over another kid's head in her class, even though he deserved it for asking me how it felt to have a retard for a brother. Mrs. Pitt would not hesitate to write me up. "Gotta go," I said and hung up. But it didn't matter. Mrs. Pitt was like, "Jessica Masterani, what are you doing out of class?" And then she wrote me up. "Thanks a lot, Mrs. Pitt." I'd like to record my gratitude for your caring and understanding right here in my statement, which I understand will be made public someday, so that everyone in the whole world will know just how fine a teacher you are. At lunchtime, I went to see Mr. Goodhart about being written up. He said all the usual stuff about how I needed to start applying myself more, and how I'm never going to be able to get into college at this rate, etc. After he gave me another week's attention for my own good, I asked him if he had any newspapers because I had to do a current event for U.S. history. This was a total lie, of course. I just wanted to see if Rosemary was right. Mr. Goodhart gave me a copy of USA Today. I sat down in the waiting area and looked through it. There were so many entertaining stories about celebrities doing foolish things that distracted me, but I finally found it. The story in the national section about an anonymous caller who had contacted 1-800-WHERE-ARE-YOU and told them the exact location of 4 children, one of whom who had been missing from his home for 7 years. Sean. I stared at the article. Me? I kept thinking I was the anonymous caller. I was in the newspaper? A national paper? The National Organization for Missing Children wanted to know who I was so they can extend their thanks. There was also, as it turned out, a substantial reward for finding Olivia Marie D'Amato. $10,000 to be exact. $10,000. You can get a heck of a motorcycle for $10,000. But then, on the heels of the thought came another. I can't take money for doing what I'd done. I mean, I never paid much attention in church, but one thing that I had managed to sink in was the fact that you're supposed to do nice things for people. And you don't do them because you expect to get paid for them. You do them because it's the right thing to do. Like punching Jeff Day, for instance. That had been the right thing to do. Accepting reward money for doing the right thing, well, that just seemed wrong to me. Since I didn't want any lousy reward, and since I didn't want my picture in USA Today, I decided not to call the National Organization for Missing Children. I mean, it wasn't as if I really wanted anyone to know about this thing I could do. I was enough of a reject at school already. If people found out about this, I'd end up like Carrie or something with pig blood all over me. Who needed the hassle? Besides, the last thing my family could survive was another crisis. My mother hadn't even begun to get over what had happened to Douglas. Although I suspect finding out your kid is psychic is better than finding out he's schizophrenic, it still adds up to one thing: not normal. And all my mother ever wanted was to have a normal family. Though what was so normal about two women wearing the same handmade dresses? I couldn't begin to imagine. But still, I did not need the added pressure. I had enough of my own. So I didn't call 1-800-WHERE-ARE-YOU back. I didn't call anyone. I just went along, doing my normal thing. At lunch, Ruth teased me about dating a Grit in front of some of our other friends from orchestra, so they started teasing me too. I didn't mind, though. I knew they were just jealous. And they had every right to be. Rob Wilkins was hot. When I strolled into detention after school that day, I have to admit, my heart kind of skipped a beat when I saw him. The guy is good looking. We didn't have a chance to speak before Miss Clemmings cracked the whip, but after she did, I took out my notebook and started doing my homework. Rob didn't lean over and grab it and start writing cute little notes to me like he did on Friday. Instead, he just sat there, reading his spy novel. It was a different spy novel from the one he was reading last week, and I suppose it was pretty engrossing and all, but come on, he could have at least said hi. The fact that he didn't made me cranky. I suppose other girls would have gotten the message, but I had no experience in that department. I couldn't figure out what I had done. Was it the way I had reacted when he kissed me? You know, almost falling off the back of his bike like that? I'll admit it was pretty juvenile, but give me a break. It was my first kiss. Maybe it was the girlfriend store remark, or the fact that I so obviously didn't fit in with Terry and Charlene. The fact that I didn't know made me even more cranky. Which would probably explain why, when Hank Wendell leaned over and whispered, "Hey, Masterani, what's this I hear about Wilkins slipping you the sausage last Friday?" I elbowed him in the throat. Not hard enough to crush his larynx and cause him to lose consciousness, unfortunately, but hard enough to make him really, really mad. But before Hank's fist could connect with my face, I was fully prepared to roll with the punch, as my father taught me. This hand shot out, and Hank's arm was twisted up in front of my line of vision. I thought we agreed you were going to leave her alone. Rob had leaned over me to keep his grip on Hank. Consequently, his belt buckle was level with my nose. Not exactly a very dignified position. It made me mad, almost as mad as Hank's remark. "Have you been going around telling people we had sex?" I demanded, craning my neck to see Rob's face. Over on the stage, the rehearsal had stopped dead. All the cast members of Endgame were staring at us. Miss Clemmings was going, "What's going on back there? Mr. Wilkins, release Mr. Wendell and sit down at once." "Jesus, Wilkins," Hank said in a strangled voice. Maybe I'd gotten him harder than I thought. "You're breaking my goddamn arm." "I'll snap it off," Rob said in this very scary voice I'd never heard him use before, "if you don't leave her alone." "Jesus, all right," Hank said, and Rob let go of him. Hank collapsed back into his chair. Rob retired to his, and Miss Clemmings, who had been halfway up the aisle, paused and said, "That's better," in this very satisfied tone, as if the fight had broken up on account of something she'd done. Right. I was furious. What did he mean? What did he mean? I hissed at Rob as soon as Miss Clemmings went back was turned. What was he talking about? "Nothing," Rob said. He buried his face back in his book. "He's an asshole. Just cool it, will you?" "Okay, I might as well let you know now One thing I really hate is when people tell me to cool it. For instance, people often make cracks about Douglas and then tell me to cool it when they get mad. When I get mad, and I can't. I can't cool it. No, I will not cool it, I snarked. I want to know what he's talking about. What the hell's going on? Did you tell your friends we did it? Rob looked up from his book then. He had absolutely no expression on his face and said, "First of all, Wendell's not my friend." On my left, Hank, still massaging his wrist, grunted, "Oh, you got that right." "Secondly," Rob went on, "I didn't tell anybody anything about you, okay? So just calm down." I hate it when people tell me to calm down, too. "Look," I said, "I don't know what's going on here, but if I find out you've been telling people stuff about me behind my back, I will pound you, understand?" For the first time all day, he smiled at me. It was like he didn't want to, but he couldn't help it. And Rob, well, has one of those smiles. You know the kind. Then again, maybe you don't. I forget who I'm writing this for. Anyway, he went, "You're going to pound me?" in his very amused voice, which made me madder. "Don't, man," Hank warned. "She hits really hard for a girl." "Yeah," I said, "so you better watch it." I didn't know what, if anything, Rob would have replied, since Miss Clemmings went, "Shh," just then. In this way, I suppose, she meant to be threatening. Rob, looking as expressionless as ever, buried his head in his book. I had no choice but to turn back to my homework, but inside I was fuming. I was fuming even harder after Miss Clemmings let us out for the day. I walked outside and found I had no ride home. Like an idiot, I had told Ruth not to bother picking me up. I'd assumed Rob would give me a ride home. Great. Just great. I'd have to call my mom, I guess. But I was too wound up to stand around and wait for her. I felt like if I didn't hit somebody, I would lose it. When I feel like that, it's better not to be around people, especially my mom. So I just started walking. I didn't care about the 2 miles. I couldn't even feel my feet. I was that mad. It was nice out, not a cloud in the sky. No worrying about being struck by lightning today. Not that I cared. 1,000 bolts of lightning could come down out of the sky and I wouldn't even notice. How could I be so stupid? How could I have been so dumb? I was walking parallel to the bleachers, scene of the crime, where I heard the purr of Rob's bike. He was coasting along the curb. "Jess," he said, "come on." I didn't even look at him. "Get lost," I said. I really meant it too. "What are you going to do, walk all the way home? Come on, I'll give you a ride." I told him where he could stick his ride. "Look," he said, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake, all right?" I thought he was talking about having ignored me in detention. "You better believe it," I said. "I just thought you were older, okay?" That stopped me right in my tracks. I turned around and looked at him. "What do you mean you thought I was older?" I demanded. He didn't have his helmet on, so I could see his face. He looked uncomfortable. "I didn't know you were only 16, okay? I mean, you don't act like a 16-year-old. You seem a lot more mature. Well, except for the whole punching guys who are a lot bigger than you think." I was having trouble making sense of this. "What the hell does it matter?" I demanded. "How old I am?" "It matters," he said. "I don't see why." "It just does," he said. I shook my head. "I still don't see why. Because I'm 18. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the road beneath his boots. "And I'm on probation." "Probation? I've been out with a felon?" Oh, my mom was going to die if she ever found out. "What'd you do?" I asked. "Nothing." A Volkswagen went by honking its horn. Rob was pulled way off to the side of the road. Was pulled way off to the side of the road, so I couldn't see what the problem was. Then the driver waved. It was Mrs. Clemmings. "Toot toot. Bye-bye, kids. See you in detention tomorrow." "No, seriously," I said. "What'd you do?" "Look," said Rob. "It was stupid, all right? I want to know." "Well, I'm not going to tell you, so you better just forget about it." My imagination was working overtime. What had he done? Robbed a bank? No, you wouldn't get probation for that. You just go to jail. Ditto if he killed someone. What could he have done? "So I don't think it's such a good idea," he went on. "Us going out, I mean, unless... When's your birthday?" "I just had it last month," I said. He said a word that I won't refrain. He said a word that I will refrain from recording here. "Look," I said, "I don't care that you're on probation." "Yeah, but your parents will." "No, they're cool." He laughed. "Right, Jess. That's why you made me drop you off at the end of the street the other night instead of in front of your house. Because your parents are so cool. They're so cool, you don't want them to know anything about me. And you didn't even know anything about the probation thing then. Admit it. Well, he had me there. Well, I said, they're just going through a sort of a hard time right now, and I don't want to cause them any more stress. But look, there's no reason they have to know. Word gets around, Jess. Look at Wendell. It's only a matter of time before your parents and my probation officer get wind of what's going on. Well, I wasn't going to stand there and beg him to go out with me. The guy was hot and everything, but a girl has her pride, so I just shrugged and said, whatever. Then I turned around and started walking again. Masterani, he said in a tired voice, look, just get on the bike, will you? I'll take you home, or to your street corner, I guess. I don't know, I said, looking back at him, fluttering my eyelashes. I mean, Miss Clemmings already saw us together. Supposing she goes running to the cops. He looked annoyed. Just get on the bike, Monstrati. I can tell what you're thinking. You're thinking that, in spite of the whole jailbait thing, Rob and I went on to have this totally hot and steamy relationship, and that I'm going to go into all the lore details right here in my statement, and that you're going to read all about it. Well, sorry to disappoint you, but that is so not going to happen. In the first place, my love life is my own business, and the only reason I mention it here is that it becomes pertinent later on. And in the second place, Rob didn't lay a finger on me, much to my chagrin. No, he dropped me off as promised on the corner, and I walked the rest of the way home, cursing the fact that I have to live in this backward state with these backward laws. I mean, a 16-year-old girl can't date an 18-year-old boy in the state of Indiana, but it's perfectly okay for first cousins to marry at any age. I'm serious. Look it up if you don't believe me. As usual, when I got home that night, there was a commotion going on in the kitchen. This one involved my mom and dad and Douglas. Big surprise. Douglas was standing there, looking down at the floor, while my mom yelled at my dad. I told you he wasn't ready, she was screaming. My mom has a pretty healthy set of lungs on her. I told you, but did you listen? Oh, no. Big Joe Misterati wants to know, always knows what's best. The kid did great, my dad said, really great. So he dropped a tray and broke some stuff. Big deal. Trays get dropped every day. It doesn't mean he's not ready, my mom yelled. Douglas saw me in the doorway. I rolled my eyes at him. He just looked back down at the floor again. There are kids back at school who say things to me about my psycho brother, about how he's been voted most likely to be a serial killer, that kind of thing. That's one of the reasons I have detention from now until the unforeseeable future. Because I've had to slug so many people for talking dirt about Douglas. But I don't think Douglas could ever be a serial killer. He's way too shy. That Ted Bundy guy, he was pretty outgoing from what I heard. My dad noticed me in the doorway and went, where have you been? Not in a mean way. Band practice, I said. Oh, my dad said. Then he started yelling at my mom some more. I grabbed a bowl of cereal, checking the milk carton. Of course, as I suspected, my mom had seen the expiration date and run out to buy a new one. I studied the faces of the kids on this particular box. I wondered if in the morning I would know where they lived. I had a feeling I would. After all, the mark on my chest where the lightning had struck was still there. It hadn't faded hardly at all. I wondered how Sean was doing. By now he'd probably been joyfully reunited with his family. He owed me, I thought, one heck of a big thank you, and an apology for acting like such a little head case that day outside his house. I went upstairs, but before I got to my room, Mike scared the bejesus out of me by tearing open, not his bedroom door, but Douglas's, and going, all right, who the hell is he? I had slammed back against the hallway wall in my surprise at seeing him come out of nowhere like that, and I went, who the hell is who? And what are you doing in Douglas's room? Then I saw the binoculars in his hand, and I knew. Okay, I said, it's not what you think. Oh, yeah? Mike glared at me through his lenses of his glasses. What I think is that you are slutting around with some Hell's Angel. That's what I think. You are so lame, I said. He isn't a Hell's Angel, and I'm not slutting around with anyone. Then who is he? God, he's in your class, all right. He's a senior. His name's Rob Wilkins. Rob Wilkins? Mike glared down at me some more. I don't know any senior named Rob Wilkins. Color me surprised, I said. You don't know anyone's name who isn't followed by an A in a little circle in the words AOL.com. He wasn't letting me off the hook, though, no matter how hard I dissed him. What is he? Mike demanded. A dropout? No, I said. Not that it's any business of yours. Well then, how come I don't know him? Then Mike's jaw dropped. Oh my God, is he a grit? Gosh, Mike, I said. That is so PC of you. I bet your new friends at Harvard are just gonna love your open-minded attitude. Mike shook his head. Mom is gonna kill you. No, she isn't, because you weren't gonna tell her. Like fun I'm not, Mike declared. I don't want my little sister going out the grit. We aren't going out, I said. And if you tell Mom, I'll take your shift at the restaurant this weekend. And if you don't tell Mom, I'll take your shift at the restaurant this weekend. He brightened up, his protectiveness for his little sister forgotten. Hey, why not? One more time on the internet for him. Really? He said. The Sunday night one too? I sighed, like this was a big sacrifice, when really I would have worked all his shifts for the rest of my natural life if he'd asked me to, in order to keep Mom from finding out about Rob. Sunday night too, I guess, I said. Mike looked triumphant. Then he seemed to remember he was my older brother, and he was supposed to look out for me and stuff, because then he said, don't you think a senior's a little old for you? I mean, after all, you're just a sophomore. I said, don't worry, Mikey, I can handle myself. He still looked worried, though. I know, but what if this guy, tries something? It was my fondest wish that he would. Unfortunately, it did not look like this was going to happen. Look, I said, don't worry about it. Seriously, Mike. You just keep spying on Claire Littman and let me do the actual making out, okay? Mike turned kind of red, but I didn't feel sorry for him. He was blackmailing me after all. That night, after I'd gone to bed, my mind was too filled with the whole Rob problem to think about what was going on, with the psychic thing. I mean, the missing kids stuff just didn't seem that important. Of course, that changed completely the next day.